right? And the unvaccinated it's forming a separate class of people in that it's going to come to a head because this Delta variant, and there's a couple of interesting graphs on it, as COVID remains sort of static for those who are vaccinated or like yourself already had it, the folks that were unvaccinated, their cases were dropping all of a sudden the Delta variant. And this chart goes like this.
Huge, I hear that.
Like suddenly, and
like
90%, 97% of the cases are unvaccinated and so on and so forth. Here to talk about that and more, our good friend James Sapirstein, who is the chairman, president, and CEO of AzureRx Biopharma. They are publicly traded on the NASDAQ under the stock symbol AZRX. I love talking to him because the need for COVID therapeutics is there, so we're not just depending on vaccines. And James, thanks for swinging by again today. Can you give us a top-down, because you're at the tip of the spear here, man. What's the top-down going on here with this Delta variant? Is it really the unvaccinated, the unclean versus the clean, as some media portals are saying?
Well, it is the unvaccinated because the Delta variant just spreads much faster than the other variants that were here before through the air. So, yeah, I have a feeling some states are going to start locking things down again simply because this thing spreads so quickly. But the word is that it should peak within 2 to 3 weeks, the Delta variant. Oh, good. But there's one coming in right behind it called the Lambda variant that not too many people are talking about yet, but it's here. It's in the States. And there's a Gamma variant as well that's coming. So
we're set till Christmas then.
Yeah, exactly.
We are.
Hey, I have a quick question. Does the mask stop stuff from getting out of me or coming into me?
Both.
Oh, good.
So is it a good idea, James? I mean, if you're vaccinated and you're inside of a group of people, is that common sense? Even though we have this invisible shield, so to speak, called a vaccination.
I'll tell you what I did. I can't recommend anything for anyone else. I went to my local Costco yesterday. I wore a mask, and I'm vaccinated because I'm in Florida, so the Delta variant is going crazy here. So. I don't want to get it. It's not that I'm going to be hospitalized if I do get it. I will survive it, but I don't feel like feeling terrible for a week or so.
Right.
So
it's just like
I'd rather just not get it.
And this is sort of going to end up being endemic, is it not, James? Where we're going to end up getting a COVID shot every year, like a flu shot, in your opinion?
I stand again. I think we're going to have to drug our way out of this. Yeah. And I think there's some great therapeutics that are coming, including ours. And you'll be able just to take a tablet, just like you're able to take for flu.
Well, let's talk about that because there is, and you were the first person, and we've been talking about this obviously every single day for a year, and we started talking to you, a little over a month ago, and you were the first person to say that there is a need for COVID therapeutics, so we're not just depending on vaccines. Why don't you expand on that? What you meant by that?
Well, you're going to need drugs to treat this. For instance, we're studying right now in COVID-related diarrhea. 30% of all patients who have COVID have some kind of GI discomfort. And we're also looking at our trial for people who are long haulers. So people who've had COVID and prior to vaccination or post-vaccination, and they have the brain fog and they have all sorts of things going on for a year. And we're going to need therapeutics for that as well. So you're not going to be able to vaccinate your way out of having a long hauler if you've had COVID already. You're going to have that virus still living in your system.
And that's sort of, and your drug, niclosamide, if I'm not mistaken, works for the COVID-related and the GI symptoms that you just brought up, correct? That's
correct.
And possibly the long haulers. Talk about the drug and where you are in that arc of that story with the FDA and such.
Right. Well, we're not quite to the FDA. We're in the middle of a trial. We started enrolling patients. We have 11 sites that are open. We're actually going to expand to India, and we're going to expand to the Ukraine. We're going to announce that fairly soon when we open up those sites. As you know, the Delta variant is rampant in India, so we want to make sure we can work against the Delta variant and any other variant that might come afterwards. So we're in the midst of a trial, and we are talking things with the FDA to see if we can expand our protocol a little bit to admit more types of patients.
How does this, Jay, by the way, James Sapirstein is our guest. He's the president and CEO of AzureRx Biopharma. AZRX is their stock symbol. You can go to their website, azurrx.com. That'll be up on our website. Plus, we'll put it out to our 140,000 some odd social media followers. Here's my question for you. How does this Delta variant change how you maybe start testing, the existing therapy that you have online, and is there new therapies that you might come up with, that are criteria specific for the Delta, the Gamma, the Lambda, and everything else you talked about?
Great question. And I think I explained this to your audience a while back, and those who might have missed it. The variants work in the spike protein coming off the virus, and that's where all of these mutations are happening. Our drug is going to work on the virus itself, not on the spike. So it doesn't matter which variant comes in, we'll be able to kind of deconstruct the virus from within. So as long as we show we work against all different variants, it should work against anything that's coming our way with COVID-19.
So there's sort of no need to go out and distribute the therapies to Delta variant patients. You just sort of test it as is, and then when you go to FDA, I guess there's no other boxes to check. You can put in your column here, this is what we treat, correct?
Correct. We treat all aspects of COVID-19, correct.
James, I have to ask you on a top-down question, how does this pandemic compare to other epidemics? We talked about this the first time we talked to you, HIV, SARS, Ebola, all of those things that we all forgot about. How is this, and even the influenza pandemic we saw at the turn of the century?
This virus is very unique. It spreads very easily in aerosol and when people breathe. In HIV, we all know how it spreads, and even the flu. It's very, you could be with someone with flu and you may not get it right away. So it's a nasty virus, and if people have some autoimmune issues or they're obese, it attacks those people even more heavily. So unfortunately, there's some more death to come.
Yeah, and I think, and I guess the other piece of this thing is, for you, and I know you're a doctor, but you are really at the tip of the spear of the biopharma industry. Mm-hmm. What are you doing, and what can people do going forward when you see this thing mutating, much like the flu viruses mutate every year? I think it's sort of a crapshoot every year when I get a flu shot that I'm going to catch the exact one that's that year because there's so many different ones that are mutating. Sort of the same thing here, correct?
Well, that's why we have to drag our way out of it. I think you brought up the perfect example. So you have the different variants. Now you have the Delta, you have the Lambda coming. So if you have these different variants coming, say, for the next 10 years, which vaccine are you going to use? And it could be viewed as a crapshoot, even though you get some coverage with all the vaccines. If you have a drug that works against the whole virus, then it's not much of a crapshoot at all. You can be able to prevent this.
And I guess the last question about this, doing vaccines, because in the meantime, while we're waiting for therapeutics such as your RX, we're dealing with vaccines here. And look, and I know there's an ethical question here. If I were the CEO of Pfizer, I would say, oh, you need this vaccine every 3 months. Is there going to be a need for a booster in this thing, or do you think this is just going to be part of our lives going forward?
I believe there will be a booster needed, and simply because some of those people, think about what the Pfizer CEO said. He said, basically, the people that were vaccinated at the end of 2020, early 2021, who no longer have a solid immune response, so they need a booster to bring that immune response up. And he also specified older people in nursing homes who might need that booster.
Yeah, good stuff. James, thank you so much for your time. I know we've kept you longer than normal. James Sapirstein is his name.
Maybe they'll have one of those strips you put on, like Listerine and the drugs in the strip.
Like the guys over at Cure Biopharma. As your RX. AZRX, there you go.